before I begin, I want to ask a quick question. How many people here feel like they really truly understand and know their customers, whether that's members or customers? When I say customers, I'm kind of including everyone. Put up your hands. Okay, great. Okay. And then how many people here feel like there's actually a brand around their community outside of paying customers? People that engage with the brand and communities. Yeah, put your hands up if you feel like, okay, great. Carla kind of touched a little bit on some of the parts that I'm going to be talking about, but her comment about community really kind of stuck with me, and how community building takes effort, it takes time, it takes a certain level of intimacy with your clients to kind of understand really truly who they are. So today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about helping, not selling, the new way to win customers. And what I've done is I've taken some of our experience in the digital space, some of the work that we've done, some great examples that I found as well, of companies that are really providing help and services outside of a purely transactional approach, and kind of generating and building those communities. The other thing that I did is I took some of the process that we use internally, and I created some templates, and I'll have a QR code at the end that you all can kind of download some templates and use them within your organizations to really start mapping out your approach. Yes, so my name is Marcello. I've been in the technology space for roughly 20 years. In a wide range of roles in different industries. More than half of that time has been as an entrepreneur. I have a company called Tennis. We're a digital transformation firm, primarily focused on UX and web. We work across a lot of industries. We do a lot of work actually with associations and membership engagement. And when I started a long time ago, one of the gaps that I saw in our industry, and the creative industry as well, is doing work for the sake of doing work, and oftentimes there's a big question mark around, is this actually worth it? And so one of the approaches that we've kind of taken is to really focus in on, what is the business impact of technology? So we've created an entire process within our business, and we deploy that across a lot of different industries, like I said. So just a quick background of a lot of the changes that have happened in technology that have kind of led us to where we are now. We started with dial-up, and I still remember one of the biggest arguments in my house was with my parents when I was in grade 8, and I was just dying to play this really nerdy sci-fi multiplayer game online, and that meant basically our house would go dark because we'd be using the landline for 2 or 3 hours, and we were constantly battling about trying to use the internet. We've come a long, long way from that point. We're talking about AI basically taking over development functions within software companies to a certain degree, but one of the more exciting things, I think, in the AI world. But when it comes to clients and customers and just people and communication and the way we interact, the 2000s were incredible. I mean, between 2000 to 2014, we were launching new products every year. There was the iPhone, the iPad, Wi-Fi started. We had things like Shopify. You started this whole concept of democratizing the web. There was a point in time where to start a business, you needed expensive software licenses. You don't even need that anymore. Anyone can start up anything. There's so many tools out there. And all of this was really complicated for businesses. I think businesses are still getting into this workflow of learning about new technology, how is it going to apply to our business, keeping tabs on it, how does it apply to our customers, and you multiply that across all these channels. And then on the organizational side, from our experience, a lot of the, how can we do this better, what if scenarios usually start in marketing. And so a lot of the work we do is sort of spearheaded by marketing or business owners that are wearing many different hats. And then it starts to branch out within the other departments. You've got a rapid rate of technology, and you've got a lot of pressure on marketing and sales, and then the consumer buying process has completely changed. And there's a lot of really interesting statistics out there on how people are actually engaging with brands. So 81% of consumers research online first. For major purchases, people are typically taking around 79 days of research before they engage any brand. 55% of the people that actually are researching online are going on social, which I found kind of interesting. I had an interesting discussion with someone recently who said that when they go to a new city and they're trying to figure out what to go and see and do in the city, they go to TikTok because there's just so much content on there to see what's popular in a city. And then the pathway for people to actually find your brand is typically starts with search engines and then ends up on a website, your website, or someone in your industry's website. This is also going to change a lot with AI because we're starting to have conversations already now with companies that are considering search within some of the AI tools like ChatGPT. And some companies that I've talked to have already started showing up, have already been able to start manipulating how they show up in results on ChatGPT when you start asking questions like, I don't know, anything that you'd be researching that's related to a brand. And it's so new that I'm not exactly sure how they're nailing it, but it's starting to happen. So the most successful businesses today win typically by helping and not just selling. And what I mean by helping is organizations that are engaging their customers early on in this buying cycle and helping by providing the information, the tools, and the community that these people are looking for when they're researching businesses, products, services. Like I said before, on major purchases, 79 days of engagement before actually starting to reach out to a brand or a company. So they're finding communities, they're finding tools, they're leveraging these tools in their own personal lives, and then eventually that's converting into purchases. I've got a bunch of examples. It's quite a wide range of examples because connecting and helping doesn't need to be super technical. It also doesn't need to have a gigantic budget. There's quite a wide range of what I think are good examples on how brands are actually helping their customers before the purchase process. So I'm going to walk through a couple examples with you. The first one is HubSpot. They're a pretty big marketing firm, software company. They offer a whole lot of products, CRMs, CMSs, which is a content management system for your website. They're primarily targeting small, medium-sized businesses. And so one really cool tool that they've launched is a website grader. Really simple. There's some algorithm behind, there's some development work behind the scenes to kind of actually grade your website, which is a little bit more complicated. But the interface is very simple. So you basically are wondering, I'm not sure if my website's really achieving the results that I'm looking for. You go onto their website, you type in your URL, you type in your email, and it basically breaks down the performance of your website. And it takes you across a couple different metrics. So performance, SEO, mobile, security, which is a big one. And it's pretty superficial, but it is still a really good starting point to start thinking about your website. And obviously they want you to engage them, but it's been hugely successful for them. 3 million websites checked since this launched, and 50,000 leads a month of organizations that are basically, and people that are giving them their email address and information. The next one, kind of in the same vein as HubSpot, is Shopify, probably one of the most successful tech companies in Canadian tech companies. They are, does everyone know who Shopify is? Yeah. E-commerce platform, probably the biggest in the world. You can kind of tell through their tools that they're really trying to target people that don't have an e-commerce platform, because if you did, you're probably using Shopify. I think there's like one other competitor. So they've basically created all of these free tools for startups and small businesses to basically start up. Business name generator, which is kind of interesting. Terms and conditions generator, refund policies. So you're getting into the e-commerce space. You've got a lot of questions about how am I going to handle refunds? What kind of policies do I need to have in place? They basically have that all created for you. So you can go and engage in this ecosystem of tools and start to scale up your little e-com shop. I was looking for some industry-specific examples, and I found some really cool ones. I don't know a lot about the organizations that have built these, but they are really cool. The first one is the Network of Nature, which is an organization that is trying to promote planting native species to Canada's biodiversity all across Canada. So they really know who their audience is, they know who they're trying to target, and they have some cool features that they built into their site. The first one is they've got a map, an interactive nursery map of nurseries that have native species. And then the other one is just a really cool database that you can go into if you're a potential audience or customer, and you can actually start to filter amongst all the different native species to Canada's biodiversity. You can go into different species. It'll give you a lot of really cool information, a lot of really interesting information about, you know, how to plant, where to plant, stuff like that. And I thought this was a really cool example, along with another one called Perma People, which I was kind of looking a little bit deeper into this group, and it seems to be just a group of people that are really passionate about ecology. It doesn't seem to be a nonprofit. It just seems like a group of people that are passionate about ecology. And one of their mandates is to get more people being self-sufficient on growing in their own backyard. So they have some really cool free tools to support that. One of them, the top right, is a garden planner. And it's a really great little piece of free software. You can open it up into its own window and operate it like an actual piece of software, and it's free. And then they have a garden planner with a database of a whole bunch of information on different species and where to plant them, how to plant them. And then they've got a really cool marketplace as well for people that are actually engaging further and can buy and sell and trade seeds. Very cool. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm curious how many people have used or have experimented with the CNLA Clean Air Calculator. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and again, a really amazing tool. When we found out about this tool, we were pretty amazed. It's quite innovative, and yeah, we don't see a lot of this type of innovation in the association space. So it was a really pleasant surprise for members. Obviously, they know their members quite well, and they've created this tool that actually could be a really great value add in the sales cycle for landscapers. I included an example that we're working on right now because I just thought, how do I show how partnership could be leveraged? So we get questions a lot about accessibility, AODA accessibility, and the American version ADA accessibility, which is legislation for accessible websites. And there's a lot of different requirements. It's quite complicated because it's a government website, so we get a lot of questions all the time about accessibility. So, you know, we have a running database of questions that we get from clients that we kind of create content and tools around, and accessibility is a big one. So we started creating some content around it, and we thought about a partner, Accessiby. So Accessiby is an accessibility compliance consultancy. They've got some tools that are not accessible unless you're a partner. And so leveraging partners to help with helping your customers is another great way of deploying initiatives like this. So Accessiby let us use their accessibility checker, so you can actually go in, put your website in, and it'll give you a report that is good enough to hand off to a development or design team and actually make accessibility changes to your website. I wanted to also include the Staples project because it is non-tech. This was for Staples Promo Canada, and basically, you know, they wanted to promote some of their promo products that weren't the typical, let's put a logo on a mug, although that does have a place in promo. VR was a really big discussion at the time, and all of their clients were like, well, how do I, much like AI has a lot of hype right now. At one point, VR had a ton of hype, and every organization was thinking, how do I leverage VR? And there were a lot of different options. And so basically, we pulled all of that research and we created what looks like a gallery event, and we kind of highlighted some of the hardware. And we built some content and some education around, what is your budget? How do you want to actually leverage VR? What's the appropriate tool for your organization? And then on the right, actually, you can see like a fun little exercise we created. So we had a Google Tilt brush, which is basically like paint in virtual reality. And we put Staples logo in there, and you could go in and decorate it. And then we did a follow-up where people were actually sent their artwork. And it drove a lot of leads for Staples. And this is the last one that I have. But FP Canada, they're a big financial regulator in Canada. They were having a tough time consolidating all their potential leads and potential members that they would be talking to, because they come from a wide array of sources. Some of them are students. Some of them are people that are trying to change certification. Some of them are trying to build on their certification. And in kind of doing a bit of analysis with their customers, they started to understand that the certification roadmap is a pain, and it's pretty complicated. And so as they started interviewing more and more of their customers, they started to realize that, maybe there's an opportunity here to build a certification planner so people can actually roadmap their career out, and we can help them to do some of that planning so that they don't have to go and figure it out on their own. And so this tool was built for them to start consolidating all of that potential inbound traffic into one place. So how can you get started? So let's say that the idea here is, we want to find out a way to engage with our audience, customers, members. We kind of consolidated our framework down into something that you could apply within your own organizations. And like I said, you'll be able to download all the templates, and you can actually bring them into your boardroom and do a workshop yourselves. And as I was kind of working through these templates, I was thinking, what better way to conceptualize it than talk about a little project that I started. So, let me talk about the process first. So typically the process that we would recommend is figure out your audience and objectives. You need to know your audience. You need to know what the overall objectives are of this project. Figure out your value proposition. Where do we provide value to our clients? And from there, you can start to understand what questions you need to answer. And then I built a small ideation matrix that you can basically look at and say, okay, what do I want to do? Is it a web application? Is it content-based? And it'll kind of give you a bit of a breakdown of budget and things like that. So I was thinking about the whole audience piece and how do I contextualize that in some of the templates, and I was thinking about a little project that I started. So that's my family on the right. I'm including a 3-month-old that was just born recently, so I have to update this photo. That's me over there. And these are some dahlias that I grow in my backyard. So I was inspired by a friend of mine who I'll show you what he's got going on a little bit later on. And I started growing tons of dahlia plants in my backyard. Like basically, I'm putting in a small little flower farm, and I've sort of become known in the neighborhood as the dahlia guy. And all of my guy friends are constantly coming over to get bouquets for their wives and for their houses. And originally I was like, this would be a really cool way of introducing my little kids to entrepreneurship, which I'm very passionate about, getting them outside, and working together on something that we can kind of grow together over the years. So I've been at it for 2 seasons, and I came from zero knowledge, and I completely messed up my first season. I actually dug up all the tubers and wasn't exactly sure how to split them up so that I could keep plants going for the next season, and I destroyed them all by accident. So I'm a customer, I'm a potential primary target for someone. I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to find as much information as possible. So the first canvas is the audience canvas. So you really want to kind of start to prioritize your audience tiers. For some nurseries, I might be more on the tertiary, maybe even quaternary tier, and I might not be a primary audience. But for some, I might be primary, the small local nursery around the corner. So you're going to map out all of your audiences, and also sort of take stock of who are you actually serving with this initiative? Are you trying to target one primary audience that is the most important to your business, or are you potentially tackling a couple different audiences? Summarize them, add in their goals and tasks, add in their pain points. I highly recommend also, at some point, if you go through these exercises, it's really good to go through it again with actual customers, because oftentimes you'll find that you're making assumptions, and some of them might be right, some of them might be wrong. The second exercise is our objectives canvas. So this kind of gives you a bit of a frame of why are you doing this. There needs to be some sort of business interest. You're not going to invest all of this money for no reason. You need to think about what the objectives are. So when it comes to UX and brand, those are usually qualitative. We want to be a brand leader or a thought leader in this space. And then working through financial conversion and efficiency, they may not all apply, but you may be thinking, okay, do we have some sales metrics that we're actually trying to impact? Do we have any conversion metrics we're trying to impact? Are we trying to get people from this marketing initiative to our website or to an order? And then basically record all that data. And then this is a really, really valuable exercise. And I recommend doing this quite often, maybe once every 6 months, once a year even. So basically the value prop canvas, you think about your target audience and they're the square on the right, and you start to list, what are all the jobs that they need to do within their role. So, if you take me for an example, I need to plan the garden, I need to consider where I'm putting things based on sunlight, which I messed up the first year. I need to water, I need to buy equipment, what kind of equipment, and then what are the gains and pains of all that? The gains are having a wonderful garden, and I really do enjoy going over to someone's house, and instead of bringing a bottle of wine, I usually bring a bunch of flowers. What are the pains? And then you start to map out your own organization and your products and services, the gain creators, so how are you helping me to achieve those gains, and the pain relievers. And then from there, you'll have a really good understanding of where your business matches your client needs, and you can start to actually filter down and think about, what are the topics, what are the problems that I'm trying to solve. The last piece is the ideation matrix, and this includes a whole bunch of ideas in terms of different directions you could take, very high level. What does an investment look like in that? What is the complexity? And then what type of internal capabilities do you need to have? So, an example is content is pretty cost effective, but you need consistency. You need to start thinking about internal workflows. How do you actually deliver that type of content? And then the last little image I wanted to show you is, this is who I'm learning from. This is a friend of mine. His name's Andrew, and he's nicknamed himself the Dahlia Mandrew. And this is his front yard in London, Ontario. He has something like 1,800 plants and in his front yard. And he started just on a whim. He just randomly started one day, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I've been kind of following him. And he basically documented his journey while he was doing it from the ground up. So 5 plants, 10 plants, 1,800 plants. He's documented his journey, and anytime I have a question, I'm like, oh yeah, Andrew probably has a video on this. And lo and behold, he'll have a video on everything from pruning to what stakes to buy, what string to put up to stake your plants. And he's the only person I know or that I've seen, and I'm obviously actively looking at this stuff, that is creating this kind of content around gardening and creating a farm, a little flower farm in your backyard. By the way, this is not his full-time job. This is just the summer months, so he dedicates a lot of time to this. And he sells flowers to all sorts of people and small businesses, and it's pretty amazing. At the end of the day, people don't buy products, they're buying solutions. So that frame of thinking really helps when it comes to marketing your services and products. And I just wanted to show one more case study because I thought it's a really interesting one. It's one of my favorites. We've worked with Staples Promo for quite a few years. I didn't know they were a sponsor, by the way. And they had a seasonal catalog, and it was a print catalog that would go on everyone's desk. They work with every major brand in Canada, Toronto I know for sure at least. And their promo business is 80% of their business. The retail line is only about 20%, which is something that I learned in working with them. And so they had this catalog, and they're like, we're not really sure that it's really being that effective. So we actually started interviewing all of their clients, and we found some pretty interesting things from those interviews. And one of them was that a lot of people are saying, I never get it. The direct intended, these were C-level catalogs for seasonal, and they were going to a specific person. And oftentimes the person was like, I never get them. Other times we would hear clients say, yeah, I get them, but I actually look at like 1 or 2 pages, and then I go on Google to search for exactly what I'm looking for, and then I end up on a competitor's website. And so they did 4 of these a year. And so through this research, they basically said, all right, let's scrap this. Let's take some of that data and create something that is going to be more helpful. And so collectively, we created this, we'll call it a digital catalog, but it's really a web-based tool. And one of the things that we heard a lot from clients was that their promo use case is very different to each other. There's so many variables. A manager of a bunch of retail branches has very different needs than someone who's promo buying for a corporate head office. And so a really small tweak that we made was when you come to this website, it actually asks you a lot of questions. It has a discussion with you. It says like, okay, what are you looking for? Like, how much do you want to spend? Who are your clients? How many locations? Are these for meetings and events? Is this a retail project? And then it basically consolidates the entire website into a couple pages of items that have been curated for your use case. So the reason I bring this up is because this one had really substantial impact. It increased their revenue by double-digit percentage, and it increased their profit by like 6 to 7% based on 4 seasons. That's it. But I wanted to open it up for questions. This QR code here, if you scan this, it'll take you to a microsite, and we've created all of those templates. We've converted them into PDF form. So you can actually download them. You can use them internally, and you can work on one. You can work on all. They don't have to be connected to any sort of digital product. The value prop canvas I highly recommend doing that one. You learn a lot about your customers. All right.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Marcello.
Yeah,
That was great.
Thank you.
Can you imagine living across the street from that guy with the, talk about keep up with the Joneses. That'd be tough to do.